What's up, YouTube? Timus here. Now, here is my throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, and 30. Alright, the films celebrating their 10th anniversary. Oh boy, we got Transcendence. Now, this film saw the likes of Johnny Depp, Morgan Freeman, Rebecca Hall, Paul Bettany, Kate Mara, Cole Hauser, newly Oscar winner Cillian Murphy, and follows a group of scientists who race to finish an AI project while being targeted by a racial anti-technology organization. Now, this movie here was also directed by Wally Pfister, who is also the cinematography of Christopher Nolan films. So that actually had a lot of stuff going for it. You had a great cast, the cinematographer of Nolan movies, being the director of this, making his directorial. You had a lot of cool stuff with it. For one, you could definitely tell it was his directorial debut. There's that. Other than that, this movie was awful. I remember really being interested in this, but then I saw it and oh boy, this was garbage. Nothing about it really fascinated me. It was really like boring at times. It didn't make hardly much sense. I mean, yeah, this was one of the films that Johnny Depp also really stumbled with. Of course, at times he also did stuff like Mordecai, Lone Ranger. I was like, Johnny Depp, where is your career going? Like, seriously. Uh, who knows if we're really going to see him in these type of movies again in the future. But, yeah, this just not about this really seem right. And Wally Pfister, I don't even think he's directed since this film, by the way. So yeah, it's safe to say he's pretty much in movie jail. All right. Also turning 10, we got Heaven is for Real. Now this is a very interesting story about this couple. One of which is a businessman, pastor, and volunteer firefighter Todd Burpo, played by Greg Kinnear, and his wife Sandra, played by Yellowstone's Kelly Raleigh, who are struggling to make ends meet during like a tough year. And their son Colton undergoes an emergency surgery, and Todd and Sandra overjoyed about his recovery. But it turns out that he sadly the kid ended up passing for a few seconds. But then came back to life, and he pretty much uh, he he pretty much said that he saw and went to heaven, and it's a really interesting story here. I mean, this is of course a Christian faith based movie, which I know not many people are really fan of the faith based stuff, but this is actually one of the like faith based movies that's actually pretty decent. Greg Kinnear of course was great in this. Thomas Hayden Church was also in this. You have some other cool supporting players as well. It's really charming. It's really heartfelt. It's a really decent little film, and it's actually based on a true story as well, which is interesting. And top it off, the movie was directed by Randall Wallace, who was like a writer on the Oscar-winning film Braveheart. He also directed the Mel Gibson film We Were Soldiers. Not a bad filmmaker there. So yeah, really decent film. If you guys haven't seen it. All right, also turning 10, we got a Haunted House 2. Now, of course, this is the fall of 2013's Haunted House, which I really enjoyed that Haunted House movie a lot. I mean, it's not as funny as, let's say, the scary movie films or anything, but I wholeheartedly enjoyed it. But the sequel, while it's not as good as the first film, I definitely had some cringy moments and everything. I mean, hey, if you ever want to see Annabelle take a, let's say, risque selfie, this is one for you. Yeah, like Annabelle the doll takes some risque selfies here. Uh, of course, you had Marlon Wayans, Jamie Presley, Cedric the Entertainer. I mean, if you guys don't know much about the sequel here, it's where Malcolm, who's now decides to start over after his former girlfriend demonic possession, and he starts over with a new girlfriend named Megan, played by Jamie Presley. And they and Megan's children are moving into their dream house, and now soon afterwards, Malcolm is once again plagued by supernatural shenanigans. Only this time, it's not just the house that's haunted, A demon has attached itself to Malcolm and shows no signs of letting go. And this movie has lots of funny moments in it. It's really hilarious. I mean, again, it's not funny as the first film or anything like that, but it definitely has some really fun, cool moments at times. Of course, this is more of a spoof of, let's say, the Conjuring films, as well as Annabelle and stuff like that. Uh, while the first film was more of a parody of, let's say, Paranormal Activity, this one's more of a parody of like The Conjuring. Can't say it's a parody of the Annabelle movie because the Annabelle movie came out after this, but yeah, and Marlon Wayans, he's really great when it comes to these spoof films. Uh, fingers crossed he comes back for the new scary movie. We'll see if that actually happens. Uh, but that aside, if you guys never seen the haunted house movies, it's a shame they never done another one. But I highly recommend them. They're really hilarious. And Marlon Wayans will also go on to reteam with the director again for 50 Shades of Grey spoof called 50 Shades of Black, which is actually as funny too. But anyway. All right, also turning 10, we got Bears. Now, this is a documentary of Disneynature documentary, say, uh, which is actually narrated by John C. Raleigh, and it's about a family of brown bears living in a cultural mountain ranges of Alaska. And of course, Disneynature has always done good with these with these documentaries, whether it's like oceans, whether it's penguins, African cats, they got tigers coming. Sadly, that's going straight to Disney Plus, but they got that. I mean, they do a great job with these type of films. I mean, I always do love a good nature documentary, and Bears is maybe one of the best out of them. It's really heartfelt. Love seeing like the habitat natures of bears. Who just doesn't love bears in general? I mean, come on, grizzly bears, black bears, polar bears, Ted, Winnie the Pooh. Who just don't love bears at all, right? Uh, but yeah, Bears is a really good one. So if you, I mean, come on with just your some of your favorite films out of this nature documentaries. I mean, they put out some really good stuff. All right, now films turning 20 this week. We got The Punisher. That's right. Before we had John Bernthal as the Punisher, and before the late great Ray Stevenson played the Punisher, we had Thomas Jane as the Punisher. Fingers crossed, maybe we get to see him in Deadpool and Wolverine. That would be cool to see. Uh, but of course, you had the likes of Thomas Jane as Frank Castle, and it's where like FBI agent Frank Castle, played by Thomas Jane, uh, as he transforms into like this vengeful Punisher after criminals murder his family, including his wife and son. And so Castle's gravely injured in an attack and believes she should be dead by Harris Saint, played by John Travolta, the crime lord who ordered the hit. And so following like his recovery, Castle becomes like a heavily armed vigilante who will stop at nothing to exact revenge. You also had the likes of Rebecca Romaine, who was also in the X-Men films. Roy Schneider was also in this. Kevin Nash, Ben Foster. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I always really enjoyed the first Punisher movie. I mean, it's not a great film, but it's really a lot of fun. It's entertaining. I mean, Marvel, like in the early 2000s, before the MCU came around, had some interesting stuff in the early 2000s. Whether it's like the first X-Men, X-Men 2, the first Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man 2. They had some really interesting stuff, and this was definitely one of them. Of course, this came out like a year after Daredevil, so there's that. Uh, but yeah, Tom Shane, I always thought he was a great Punisher. Obviously, I would probably say maybe John Berthal's more up there, but Tom Shane was of course great. Of course, Dolph Lundgren first played the role before Tom Shane, but Jane, who doesn't love Tom Shane in general? He was a really great Punisher here. It seems they didn't really do like a sequel to this, but at least we had Punisher Warzone, which is just as good. All right. Also turning 20, we got Kill Bill Volume 2. Of course, Quentin Tarantino decided to pretty much split his Kill Bill movies into two parts. Technically, if you think that this is the only sequels he actually ever fully done. And you also had like Uma Thurman coming back, David Carradine. Michael Madsen, Daryl Hannah, Sam Jackson, Vivek Fox. This time around, you have Uma Thurman as a bride who continues her campaign as of revenge against the Deadly Viper assassination squad, who's of course played by Lisa Liu, Vivek Fox, Michael Madsen, and their leader Bill, played by David Carradine, who tried to kill her and her unborn child. And the violence is up level. I mean, this is a really terrific one. I'm still hoping we get a Kill Bill Volume 3. Maybe that might be Quentin Tarantino's final film. That would be cool. Uh, I mean, I know lots of people want another Kill Bill film with, I believe, Zendaya, which I'm all for that. Uh, but yeah, Kill Bill Volume 2 is a terrific one. It's loads of fun, loads of violence, very entertaining. Uma Thurman is so good as a bride. Who just don't love the Kill Bill movies? It's interesting they didn't decide to release both films in the same year, but two years apart was perfect, I guess. But not a bad film there. All right. Also turning 20, we got Connie Carla, which stars Nina Vardalos, David Duchovny, Toni Collette, Debbie Reynolds, where best pals Connie and Carl, played by Vardalos and Collette, have a song and dance act at a Chicago airport, but they go on the run after witnessing a murder. In LA, they glimpse the city's drag queen scene, and believing the stage success is just a wardrobe change away and become female impersonators. And I'm, of course, Nymph Dots obviously at the time was very popular thanks to My Big Fat Greek Wedding. Toni Collette, obviously been in some great stuff since, at the time too. You have some good cast members in this. I was never a fan of this one. Nothing about this really made me laugh. The chemistry between Colette and Vadas is made the best part. Always nice to see David Duchovny and stuff, but yeah, this movie I never really laughed at this one. I mean, it is a little bit forgettable there. Yeah, it's just not that great film, in my opinion. I don't think it's like one of the worst films of all time, nothing like that. And it probably does have some people who enjoy it, but yeah, I'm never one of them. All right. Also turning 20, we got Young Adam, which stars Tilda Swinton and Ewan McGregor, where a drifter played by McGregor has an affair with a woman played by Swinton, stuck in a passionless marriage in 1950 Scotland. And this was a really nice little film. I mean, Ewan McGregor and Tilda Swinton, a very interesting combo, but they did play off each other really well there. Who doesn't love Ewan McGregor? Tilda Swinton's always great, so not a bad film if you guys haven't seen that. All right. Films turning 30 this week. We of course got Serial Mom, of course directed by John Waters, who obviously is best known for directing lots of B movie films like Pink Flamingos. He directed the original Hairspray. You also had the likes of Kathleen Turner, Sam Waterston, Matthew Lillard, Joan Rivers, Suzanne Summers, Justin Whalen, and you guys don't know much about the story in this. Happy housewife Beverly Sutherland, played by Kathleen Turner, has a charmed life, a beautiful suburban home, a successful dentist husband, and two normal teenagers. However, when one of her son's teachers speaks disgruntlingly of the boy at a parent-teacher conference, Beth runs the instructor over the school parking lot. Suddenly, she has an insatiable taste for murder. Six homicides later, the cops get wise to her crime. This movie is pretty much like more of a horror comedy routine, and it's a lot of fun. Matthew Lillard. Of course, this was I think it was like 2 years. I think 2 or 3 years before he had a big break with Scream. I actually think this is where they actually got the idea of having Matthew Lillard in Scream. Kathleen Turner playing like a serial mom, like a serial mother, perfect right there. Um, Sam Waterston was great in this. Tracy Lords, of course. Ricky Lake, who of course worked with John Waters a couple of times. This is actually probably my favorite John Waters movie. Pink Flamingos definitely is up there. The original Hairspray was okay, though I prefer the remake. Uh, of course, he was in Sea of Chucky. He didn't direct it, but he of course played paparazzi and Sea of Chucky. Always nice to see John Waters just in anything. cannot wait to see him for back for Chucky for this new season. Uh, but yeah, Serial Mom is it's just a lot of fun. If you guys haven't seen it, very nice. Hence it's definitely cool. So if you guys never seen Serial Mom, do yourself a favor, go check it out. All right. Uh, Also turning 20, we got Cops and Robertson. Now this stars the likes of Chevy Chase, Robert Devey, Michael Hughes, M. Emmett Walsh, Diane Weiss, and it's when the police discover that a mob hit has moved next door to the Robertsons. So they want to find what he is up to. So they set a stakeout in the Robertsons' home. Hard Noise, Tough as Nail, Jake Stone, and his young partner Tony Moore are assigned to the stakeout. But now it's a question of whether Jake can last long enough to capture the bad guys. And yeah, of course you had Chevy Chase in this. You had some good cast members, some really good comedics there too. Diane Weiss is always great. This is an awful film. Definitely one of the worst movies of the 90s. Nothing about it was really funny. I mean, if you want to see a better Stakeout movie, just go watch Stakeout with Emil Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss. That's the better Stakeout film there. Or another Stakeout, either way. But this definitely was not that funny. It was so terrible. The writing is awful. I mean, it's not that great film. Alright. Also turning 30, we got Surviving the Game. Now, this is directed by Ernest Dixon, who's a really terrific filmmaker. He doesn't really direct hardly any films nowadays. I mean, he's mostly directs more TV nowadays. But back in the 90s, he was a very popular filmmaker. He directed the Tupac movie Juice. He also did the Adam Sandler, Damon Wayans film Bulletproof. He did Tales of the Creep, Demon Hunter, and this is of course another one of his good ones. This movie of course has the likes of Ice-T, Rutger Hauer, F. Murray Abrahamson, John C. McGlinchey, and it's when Mason, played by Ice-T, homeless and living on the streets of Seattle, hears about a job as if hunting guide for a group of wealthy clients. He gladly signs on and is taken into a cabin in the middle of the Pacific forest. Then he meets a psychiatrist, Doc Hawkins, played by Gary Busey, oil Baron John Griffin, played by John C. McGlinchey, for all you Scrubs friends, and Wall Street investor Derek Wolfe, played by F. Murray Abraham. The next morning, however, Mason is awakened to learn that he's the prey the May will be hunting. So of course this is pretty much like based on I forgot the book there. I think there's like a book on this, if I'm not mistaken. But Ice-T of course is a lot of fun. That's like the action is pretty cool here. Uh, Ernest Dixon. I hope he directs another film in the future. Like it's been a while since he's actually. I mean, he's directing mostly TV lately, but it's been a while since I've seen a feature film of his. I mean, it'll be cool to see him make a comeback. Uh, but yeah, this is a really fun one. Of course, Ice-T, before Law and Order fame, he was everywhere in the 90s. Remember he was in New Jack City. He fought the Leprechaun and Leprechaun in the Hood. I mean, who doesn't love Ice-T, right? And it was cool seeing him in this. So, not a bad one there. All right. Now, films also turning 30 are two not-so-great sequels, one of which is Night of the Demon 2, where a Halloween party turns deadly for a group of teenagers when a bloodthirsty demon appears at a hellish hostess. The first film of course, was released in like the 80s. Not a bad one. The second is terrible. Nothing about it was all that great. Another sequel that turns dirty is White Fang 2, Myth of the White Love. Henry Casey, Lily Wolfang, and Pierre must put their courage to the test and save their people, the Inuit tribe, from the starvation and loss of their homeland. And this was not a good sequel. I mean, the first White Fang with a very young Ethan Hawke is a really good one if you guys haven't seen that. But the sequel is a little more forgettable. It's doesn't. I mean, why did they need a White Fang sequel? Beyond me, but it's just not all that great. I mean, it's not as bad as, let's say, the Beethoven sequels that came out, or Molly and Me Too or anything, but it's still a pretty bad one. So yeah, I mean, not everything in the '90s were great, you know. But let me let you guys. You know, which of these films stood out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is. I'm actually gonna go with the Haunted House 2. That movie is actually a lot of fun. Uh, the 20-year one is of course going to be Kill Bill Volume 2. I like the first Punisher, but can't go wrong with Kill Bill. And the 30-year one, I'm going with Serial Mom. Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Tim Zion.